Have you ever wished you could eavesdrop on a conversation with a millionaire? My name is Michelle Thompson. I'm a retired project controls engineer and business professor, and that's exactly what I'm going to do in this podcast. I get to ask the questions that everyone else wishes they could. I'm going to find out exactly how they were able to build their empires through automation and outsourcing. And I'm going to break it down in a way that helps you build your business to run on autopilot. Don't miss out on Automate to Dominate. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Automate to Dominate. And today we have Miha from the Fail Coach, and he is actually joining us from Slovenia today, which is really, really cool. Miha, can you tell us just a little bit about yourself?
Well, hi, Michelle. Like you said, my name is Miha. I'm from Slovenia, but I currently live in Serbia, which is in Eastern Europe. Because I mentioned I do a lot of animal rescue stuff in the morning while my American and Canadian clients are still sleeping because we are 6 hours ahead of New York time. Other than that, I've been an entrepreneur for the past 23 years. I've had my fair share of ups and downs, especially the downs were very monumental, but then my last startup was quite amazing as well. I was able to really take all the lessons from my past failures, turn them around, and then start and scale my business from zero to multiple 8 figures in the first year, multiple 9 figures in the next year. Had the successful Fortune 100 exit, and I found myself with the abundance of freedom of time, freedom of money, freedom of choice. And when I did what you normally do, you go to celebrate and you take a long vacation, you sip cocktails, and after 3 days of partying, I took out my phone and tapped on the Meetup app, and I was like, where are my fellow entrepreneurs? And I started going to meetups and conferences and so on, and you go there, you introduce yourself. They learned, about especially the insanely fast scaling and the exit, and then everybody was asking me questions, and I kind of like fell into the whole coaching business because it just felt so good. It really warmed my heart, and even though I don't have the millions that I had before my failure, I do feel on the inside like a billionaire, and it's a really warm, fuzzy feeling in your heart when you can help others. And so, yeah, that's what I've been doing for the past few years.
Awesome. So what made you pick the Fail Coach? What made you pick that title?
I didn't. I was having a few beers with a friend of mine, and it was, after I already did a lot of mentorship and coaching and so on, unofficially. And I was, okay, so it's time for me to start, make a company, start it as a business, create a website and so on. And like, what do I name this? And I was full of, a business development coach and this and that ideas. But then my friend, he said, well, you know what? You constantly talk about how we entrepreneurs, we fail much more on our road to success than we have, successes. How important it is to have healthy relationship with failure. How important it is to embrace it. How important it is to fail fast so that you can fail forward. Every story that you starts with, I failed with this and then this happened. And he said, you're the fail coach. And I don't know, maybe it was the beer, maybe, I don't know. I love the idea. I know that I had my iPad with me. I went online on the spot in the bar. I saw that fail.coach is available. I picked it up, and I never looked back.
Okay, awesome. So how would you define failure? Like what is failure to you as an entrepreneur?
Failure is a very simple thing. You set a goal, Now, either maybe you have a very unrealistic goal. Maybe you want to move Mount Everest to Canada, and you can't do that. So it might be that you picked an unachievable goal. That's why when I'm working with my clients, we use the SMART goal setting technique. The measurable, attainable, and so on. And then the second thing is, if you did pick such a goal and you didn't achieve it, it's not the problem with the goal itself. The problem is in the process leading to it. And either you were doing wrong steps, or you had bottlenecks in the process that you didn't recognize. I'll give you a simple example. Let's say, I want to lose 10 pounds in the next 30 days. If I go to McDonald's every single day, I'll probably add 20, not lose 10. And that would be doing the wrong steps. But then maybe I am eating healthy, but every day I have 3 avocados and 5 salads and 3 tunas and 20 bananas and so on. So I'm eating healthy food, but my caloric intake is way too big for the goal. And that would be, let's say, a bottleneck. I am eating healthy food, it's just the caloric intake, and I might not be mindful about the calories, so I ain't gonna reach the goal as well. So it's just that, because healthy relationship with failure is a logical relationship. It's not an emotional one. But most of the time, we associate failure, or we use the term failure when our reaction is extremely negatively emotional. We set a goal that's highly positively emotional, I'm gonna build this business, and because of this I'll have the freedom, and I'll be able to travel, and I'll have so much time with my family, and so on. And we associate this high positive emotions with that end goal. And then when we don't achieve it, we go in the other direction, and that's when we say failure. I've never heard anybody say, oh, I failed at learning to drive a bicycle, because everybody does it, and nobody achieves it on the first try. So it's kind of normal for us in those situations, and we say we learn to drive a bicycle, and that's it. It's a learning experience. It will take some time. You fall off, you pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and you try it again. But then when it's highly when we associate very high positive emotions with an outcome, then we say failure. So, but failure, it's really just either we set a goal that really wasn't not even close to realistic, and maybe Mount Everest was not like, I can say, oh, I'm a copywriter and I want to scale my business to 7 figures in the first year. If you don't have huge leverages on your side, you ain't gonna do that. And I mean, in all honesty, my last business, it was an energy efficiency business. So we were helping big corporations on saving electricity and gas, how much they use it. I was leveraging so much from all my past, my network, my connections, knowledge of the energy efficiency business, past clients that I was able to convert into new clients, and so on. I knew people who were investors. I was able to get $3 million in initial funding, and so on. And so without all of that, and plus I had an amazing network of people who we were able to onboard as that first group of people to work with, who were all huge experts in their own fields. I would never go probably to 6 figures in the first year, not to multiple 8. So, every time when I'm talking, especially with new entrepreneurs, and sometimes they have unrealistic goals, and you can't really blame them. There's so many ads on Facebook saying, you need no skills, no knowledge, nothing, no email list, no network, like zero everything. And you can become a high-end, high-paid consultant in the next 40 days. I mean, that's not gonna happen. Now, if you want to be, I don't know, a copywriter, and you're lucky that maybe Kim Kardashian is your best buddy on Instagram, and she makes a gram about you and says, hey, check out my friend, he's doing copywriting and he's amazing at it. Or maybe Kim wasn't the best person, but maybe, I don't know, Tony Robbins, somebody who businesses follow. And then they would say, oh, if this is friend of Tony Robbins, I have to work with this person. So it's all about leverages. Building a business is all about leverages. And so only if you have leverages, and if you really know how to use leverages, you can speed up the business development process.
So you bring up a good point. Every time we think that we've failed, right? Because we attach that emotion to that goal that we didn't make. We obviously learned something, right? And we got one step closer. So, but we still feel really crappy about not hitting our goal. How do we?
I have to jump in. That's why I said the right relationship is a logical one, because the thing is, when we have an emotional relationship with failure, usually, we go into this negative self-talk. We start maybe even finding who to blame, what to blame, or maybe, oh, the God doesn't want me to be successful, or, to find the love of my life, or whatever, your failure was. And you create the opposite of what you should do. Oh, you failed? Okay. Like, that doesn't work. Try something different. If you look at researchers, medical researchers and so on, they're very used to failure. They fail constantly, but they have very logical relationships. So, oh, this doesn't work, let's try a new one. That's why emotional relationship. But the thing is, most entrepreneurs are more on the emotional side, because you can't be creative and logical, or in most cases, creativity and logic doesn't go hand in hand. Somebody who's, really good with the numbers and the logic usually is not a very creative person. But an entrepreneur, you're creating something, you're inspiring people, you are, bringing all these emotions, and we can't help ourselves to be emotional when we fail as well. And so, one very good soft skill for any leader is emotional intelligence, because you need to know how to ground yourself. You need to know how to balance yourself. Sorry, I had to jump in there.
No, that's okay. No, that's so important. And that's kind of exactly where I was going. I think it was Alexander Graham Bell, when he was creating the light bulb, they said, oh, you failed so many times. And he's like, no, I've figured out 236 ways not to create a light bulb, right?
I think that was Edison, yes.
But Edison, yes, I'm sorry.
I found 10,000 ways how it doesn't work. So at the end, I found a way that it does. And that's really, what entrepreneurship most of the time is. Because nobody, let's say you're a copywriter. Let's go with that copywriter thing. And, you did some work, you got some organic traffic, you got some clients, you have some testimonials. And now, you say, oh, now I want to start an ad campaign. I want to start driving traffic, paid traffic to my landing pages and so on. I don't know if there is any marketing agency out there in the world that can guarantee you results, that can say, you know what, if we do this, and this, you will have this and this at the end of the month. I think any normal, solid marketing agency will always tell you, we'll have to test a few ad copies, a few graphics, a few this, a few that. Everything's testing and trying. So, testing and trying is an essential part of entrepreneurship, entrepreneurial business development. And again, if you have a healthy relationship with that testing and trying, which is a logical one, and then you don't even call it failure. You say, oh, okay, we are, research and development, testing and trying. And then that's how you succeed in the fastest possible way, because you're not stopped by this times of, that emotion roller coaster that usually happens when you see something as failure.
Yeah, and that's so huge, because I know, so many times, the entrepreneurial journey is kind of like this, right? Up and down, up and down, up and down. And I think that's why, a lot of people quit, because it's not easy, right? We look at failure all the time, but it's just that tenacity, to not give up and take what we learned and go back at it and implement what we did learn. And how do we fix the hook? How do we fix the picture? How do we fix what's wrong with the ad campaign?
It's not that hard, like if you have the right mindset, a few of the right mindsets, and one is, how you look at failure, how you, the relationship that you have with failure. And then if you have some good, solid foundations, if you try to create the processes, even if it's just on a piece of paper, like most of my processes, I start on a piece of paper before we, then once we have them polished and tested and so on, then we, transform them and flow chart them and so on. But in the beginning, everything starts either on my whiteboard or on a piece of paper. So, just put the processes down, all the steps, the more detailed, the better. And then figure out, okay, what can I measure here? What's my intent? Oh, I want to start posting on LinkedIn. Okay, so what's my intent with LinkedIn? Is it brand recognition? Is it conversion? Is it this? Is it that? Oh, okay, it's conversion. So how do I want to convert? Oh, I want to drive people to my, free PDF document. Okay, so that's my intention behind my posting. So, okay, I can't just constantly post, download my PDF. So I need to put a few other things into the mix, because I need some, engagement for the algorithm, to feed the algorithm. So then when I do post that, download my PDF, more people will see it. But, it's a strategy. So you plan it out, you make the steps that you will be doing, and then, figure out what you can measure. And if you can create some simple KPIs are just key performance indicators. Oh, okay, so I create 5 posts. 2 are meant to be conversional into the PDF. The other 3 are there to support the whole thing. Okay, every week I get 20 new people into my ecosystem on my email list. Okay, that's the result I'm very happy with, because I know that from those 20 people, 2 will convert in a sales call, and I don't know, I can close 1, whatever. And if that's your goal, you say, okay, my KPIs are okay. Then, of course, it's good to benchmark it a little bit. Now, we can benchmark things against our past results if we already have some. If we're just starting, we don't have that. But we can also benchmark against future ones. We can benchmark against industry averages. And now with Google, we can find industry averages for anything. Oh, my webinar is converting at 3%, but in my industry, the average is 5%. Okay, so I still have quite a few options to improve my process, I guess. So it's just processes, KPIs, benchmarking. If you have those things in place, you can very quickly see whether things are working or not. So let's go back to that, I want to lose 10 pounds. So, if I eat healthy, if I exercise, I can probably lose 3 pounds a week. Let's say that 3 pounds a week is a normal rate. And so if I measure myself after week 1 and I see that I've gained 5 pounds, that should, ring a huge alarm. And I need to sit down, preferably with my health coach. If I made a plan by myself, then maybe I need to ask somebody else. Maybe the plan isn't the best one. So maybe I need somebody else's help. So I would sit down with my coach and I would say, okay, so like, what's wrong? Like, how was I able to gain instead of lose anything? And then we would probably go back through the steps. What did you eat on Monday? What did you eat on Tuesday? And suddenly we would discover that, yes, I had 3 very nice meals, but I was snacking like crazy while I was at work. And my coworker always brings, I don't know, this potato chips, and I'm just eating them completely mindlessly. And oh wow, that's why. And so we can have a quick reset. So we don't go into huge failure. We can spot when something is not working pretty quickly. So with some good foundations, you can eliminate the big waves.
So you're talking a lot about KPIs and just incredibly useful knowledge for
stuff.
somebody who's but this is the stuff you need to know. This is the stuff that nobody talks about, that
I know
takes you years to get where you're going because nobody tells you about the KPIs.
Yeah.
Right. So what software and systems are you using in the background to be able to track these KPIs?
I mean, it depends on the business and the size of the business.
But give me some examples. Let's say small to medium-sized business.
I'm a huge fan of Microsoft Power BI for a BI tool that's business intelligence, where you just plug in everything, and I love it. But it's not. I mean, the subscription is not expensive. It's like, I don't know, $10-20 per user. But to set it all up and so on, it is an investment. So that's not for somebody just starting out. Somebody just starting out, now it depends what they're doing. If their ecosystem is email marketing, if you have Active Campaign, for example, they have really good dashboards within that. I don't know about others. I know that our guys use Active Campaign, so I'm not sure how others compare to that. But so a lot of these tools, especially if you're an online entrepreneur, already have good analytics inside. Facebook ads, you can see a lot of analytics, Facebook page, and so on. I was just having this discussion today with one client of mine, because I recently switched to helping a lot of early stage entrepreneurs, not just 7, 8, 9 figures. And she was asking me the same question, like, oh, what should I use? And I said, you know what, just the first thing that comes to my mind, map them out just on a piece of paper, because it's easy. You can wipe it and rewrite it and whatever. I know that my OCD kicks in when I go into a flowcharting tour, and then I'm more focused on those things, how they are aligned, than what's in them. So I said, just take a piece of paper, a big piece of paper, and just start creating that on a piece of paper. You can use sticky notes, to move things around and so on. And then once you say, okay, this is kind of what I want, you can go, Lucidchart is a good tool. You have specialized tool just for mapping out processes, but you have also free things like, Google Draw, I think, is a flowcharting tool that's free. So there's plenty of that out there that you can use. Then for KPIs, you can do them in Asana, in Monday. You can have KPIs in a BI tool. You can have KPIs in tools like Wigdone.
If somebody doesn't know, what's a BI tool?
A BI, business intelligence. So business intelligence is basically, you take a whole bunch of data from all different sources, and you try to make KPIs so that you can a more complex KPIs. So let's say, how does my client move through the whole client journey? What are my conversion rates through the whole journey when I move them from, I don't know, let's say that they get to know me via Facebook ads, then they go into my Facebook group, then they go into my email marketing, then they go into, I don't know, this and that. And so I track them throughout that journey. And because I'm using different platforms, I have to move all that data into one central repository, and that's the BI tool. And then I can create a KPI so that when I'm a CEO, I can just look at 4 or 5 different KPIs, and I know exactly what's happening in the business.
So that brings up a really, interesting point. When you build a business that's 8 and 9 figures, right? obviously really good at systemization because there's
Well, you
no
have to
way.
be.
Right. So how did you learn that? How did you figure that out? Somebody
I
wants to
mean,
get good at that.
before my failure in 2009, so, just quickly, I lost almost 20 million in one single day. All my businesses, because they were all connected. I had no clue, asset protection and stuff like that. That was not something I knew back then, So it was all connected. I was co-signing for everything. And so I ended up in $5 million personal debt. And in Europe, it's not that easy as in the US to just go and do personal bankruptcy. So as I was not allowed to do personal bankruptcy. So I had to actually repay that debt after I had the exit. And I had to repay almost 7 million by that time with all the interest and everything. But before my failures, I had multiple successful businesses even then that all went past 7 figures, some one even to multiple 8 figures. So I already had a lot of that knowledge from the past, and then adding the failures, adding the lessons that I've learned through that, and that's how I kind of combined the two. But throughout that journey, I had coaches, I had mentors. Even now in this current business, I have fellow coaches that I take coaching from. We have our own masterminds where we mingle, and each time somebody's on the hot seat and so on. I mean, in reality, I've met a lot of business coaches online, and when I mention, oh, like, who's your coach? They're like, oh, why would I need a coach? I'm a business coach. Oh, well, we all suck when it comes to our own businesses. I mean, you are emotionally attached. No matter how mindful and emotionally intelligent and everything you are, you're still attached and you're still in it on a daily basis. So I have amazing people that surround me and who are very good in particular things. So I suck when it comes to creating processes for my own, but I know how to do that for others, but for my own business, I'm not good at it. And I like teaching it. I know how to do it. I don't like doing it. But I know exactly how to teach it to somebody, and how to guide them through the process of creating processes. But the thing is, like I said, most entrepreneurs are more on the emotional side. Most entrepreneurs are more the creative types. And when you start mentioning systems and processes and automatizations and so on, that's not the sexy stuff. That's not marketing. That's not branding. That's not sales and so on. And it's really boring. It's not something that would be very enjoyable to anybody. But especially in times like this that are very shaky, that's what will make your business sustainable. My biggest problem back then, why I failed so hard in the last recession, and I had about 10 years now of reflection to do on why things happened to me in the past and what I can learn from that, was really that my businesses back then had no solid foundations. The thing was, a few years prior to that recession, as I was creating and growing and scaling those businesses, I thought how amazing entrepreneur I am. But in reality, now looking back, I was really just riding the good economic situation. What we've been seeing, 2017, 18, 19, shares were rising, real estate was rising, people were spending money left and right. You open a shop and bam, you have purchases and so on. But right now, what we are experiencing, and I don't know, I mean, it doesn't have to be the coronavirus, it can be, the US elections, the Brexit, the opening of borders in Turkey and creating another migration wave and so on. There's plenty of things happening alongside the corona. We are just hearing about corona like 24/7. These shaky times is when foundations are really important. Imagine building a business is just like building a house. First, what you do, you first make a blueprint. In business, you make a business plan. Then you lay down foundations, and then you can build up. And the stronger your foundations, the more you can build up. And then, if an earthquake comes, if you don't have foundations, everything will fall apart. And this, what's happening right now, is like an earthquake to a house.
And you're exactly right. So let's say somebody is listening to this and they're like, oh crap, I don't even know if I have a good foundation. What are the key things that every business needs as a foundation to be successful, so when they hit hard times, they're going to make it through and they're not going to fall on their face?
The most important one, the first one, is you, the entrepreneur. In these times, you need to be stable. You need to be grounded. You need to practice mindfulness. And not from a Zen perspective, but mindfulness as in being present, being able to step away from what's currently happening and look at it from a bit of perspective, not react on autopilot. Autopilot in this situation is not a good thing. Our autopilots were not done for crisis, for critical situations. If you look at the DNA, they are the wrong. You start running away and you have to tackle things, not run away or hide somewhere and hope that this will pass, because it doesn't work that way. You need to put yourself in the driver's seat. You need the emotional intelligence to balance you. You need to be in the permanent state of beta. I call that permanent beta mindset, always learning, always growing, always ready to pivot. Some business models right now will just fail. If you're in certain niches right now, I don't know what to do. Maybe you need to pivot really hard. Maybe you need to pivot just a little. But those are some of the softer things for you, the entrepreneur. And then there are the hard foundations. And again, those foundations depend, how big is your business? The same as with house, you won't build a foundation for a skyscraper if you're just making a family home. So if you have a 6-figure business, the foundations are much more smaller than for an 8-figure, 9-figure business with, 1,000 employees. But they might be, processes, KPIs, benchmarking, company culture, brand story, HR strategy, cash flow management, and I'm probably missing some. But I'm also talking a lot about this in a free Facebook group, like pinpointing them one by one, going through all of them, really just trying to help as many fellow entrepreneurs. I'm not going in depth in them, just a little bit at a time, but at least for them to recheck whether they have them in place or not, and what they can do about it to put them in place.
So where would somebody find that Facebook group if they were looking?
It's the group is called The Leverage of Trust. I used to just teach this technique, how you can leverage trust to speed up the business development, because every purchasing process goes know, like, trust. And so if you want to speed up, if you need some oxygen money, or you want to just speed up a little bit, you need to go where trust is, because otherwise it takes time to build trust from just the no. And so I started with that, but then as I saw what's happening around the world, I felt I need to start giving people in that group more than just that technique. So I started just doing I call them recession-proof episodes, just to recession-proof your foundations in these times.
That's awesome. Like, that is something that every one of us need to go watch all of them. So
yeah,
let's say when you're looking to hire a business coach for your business, what are the key things that you're going to ask them when you're interviewing them to see if they're a good fit for you and your company?
So the first thing is, do we vibe as human beings? That's very important, because with your coach, you'll be in constant contact. You do a lot of video sessions and so on. So it should be somebody, you are vibe on the same level. I mean, there's plenty of good coaches out there if you look for them. You don't have to just go for somebody even though you maybe hate them. So that's one thing. The other thing, I would definitely look a little bit at what they have done so far. For me, it's very important to see whether they know how to duplicate things over and over. Because, you know, anybody can get lucky and make one successful funnel. Another thing is if you can duplicate that over and over and over and over again. I always take a little bit of time and do a little bit of dating. I don't just go and pop the question after a one-night stand. So that's also a good thing to do. And really, for me, it's very important whether they are speaking honest truth about the whole story. I don't like the ones that, you know, just show off with Lambos and Ferraris and mansions. That doesn't like vibe with me, because I know, and anybody who has been in business for at least a little bit knows that it's not a straight line. It's not just successes. So whoever is not comfortable sharing the whole story, it feels like they are hiding something. I don't want to have anything to do with them. I want to see that they went through the trenches. That shows me resilience. That shows me, that they know how to be humble, how to be grateful, how to be grounded, because those failures and all of those things, they really ground you. Even if you weren't grounded before, they ground you a whole lot. So those are some of the things that I like to see in people that I work with. And another thing is, even with my clients, I do the same. I try not to listen to people too much, but more look at, whether they walk the talk. I don't know whether, like, for me, it's very important to be on time, so are they showing up on time if we have a call? I don't believe in salesy sales. I hate that, I honestly hate that. And this is like one thing new entrepreneurs are usually very scared of before they enter entrepreneurship. Then I'll need to be that, crazy car sales dude, pushing stuff on people. Sales doesn't have to be that way. And trust me, I've done over 3 billion in sales in the past 23 years in all my past businesses. And I've never done sales in that way. So whenever somebody does that to me, we don't vibe. It's just, I can't learn from somebody whose values and those most basic things that makes them who they are so different than mine. So for me, that personal connection is really very important.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd say that's huge. And another thing for me, that this is just me personally, is that sometimes I need somebody to call me on my crap, right? Like maybe I'm in, some type of la la land where I think I've got this unreasonable goal and I'm going to hit it. And I need somebody to kind of bring me back to reality and be like, Michelle, stop pounding your head against the wall. You're being an idiot. They don't want that. They want this. So pivot.
No, Michelle, I've seen quite a lot of coaches who I call them the yes men. They will try to wiggle around in any way possible just so that you stay their client. But no, that's not giving value to your clients. If they're doing something good, you need to tell them that. But when they're doing something bad, you need to tell them. That's your number one responsibility. Otherwise you're not serving them. Otherwise you're serving yourself, but that relationship will end. And it doesn't usually end well, because sooner or later, you see that, they are not who they really are. So yeah, of course, the coach is the first person to tell you when you're, this is not going to work in that way. And they need to ground you. Sometimes a coach needs to be that emotional intelligence guy, that grounding person, because maybe, I don't know, you fell in love with an idea, but you don't have the resources to actually execute it. And of course, that person is there to walk you through so that you understand, I'm lacking this resource. Okay, that's not a bad thing. So can I get this resource? And then I can go to this. But, you have to be logical in many places. Because yeah, a lot of people, they get a good idea, it makes sense in their head. It's crazy to me how little people actually do business development plan. A few months ago, I was it was in a very big Facebook group, I'm not going to name it, and I asked a question. I said, how many of you have a business plan, and how often do you go back to it, in this changing world? Because things change very quickly and you update it. And one guy, I got a lot of, people saying, oh, dude, like that's so old thinking, you don't need business plan anymore, and things like that. But one guy he said, dude, it's 2009. All you need is an Instagram account. Okay. If that's how you do your business, okay. But, having like the point of the plan is to, to really pour yourself some, clarity, whether you have all the ingredients to come on the other side. Because if you're lacking some of the ingredients, you have to first get them before. It's like making, a risotto. If you don't have, butter and Parmesan and so on, you can't, that won't be a risotto. It might be, rice with something, but it ain't risotto. And then the thing is also to make you rethink, but to also see the big picture. Because if you go through all the steps in business development one by one in your head, they might make sense by itself. It's only when you put them together and then you put that on the wall and you sit back a little bit and you take that overview, like 50,000 feet view picture. And then you might see, oh, like shit, this doesn't go with this. Okay, let's go back to the drawing table. That's how you can eliminate a lot of the failure happening later on. So I always say, in the business development, first, let's, the way I teach my students, especially now with the people who are new to entrepreneurship. So the first module is you, the entrepreneur. Nobody was born the perfect entrepreneur. We all have some skills, lack some skills, have some beliefs, lack some beliefs. So it's, and we just need to figure out which ones we lack and which ones we have and what we need to add. So you, the entrepreneur, then we do the homework. Then we validate that homework organically. That's the easiest way before we start throwing money at it. What's the only good way to validate it? Well, you have to sell it to a few people for the full price. Once we have the validation, now we can start thinking about growing or even scaling, building a team, reinvesting the cash flow back into the business and so on. But that's at a later stage. But if you skip the first few steps, and most entrepreneurs skips those steps, well, then anything can happen. Yes, every now and then somebody gets lucky. Every now and then somebody wins the lottery as well. But, for majority of people, they, I don't like to work with odds where me being hit by a lightning is more likely than me actually, making something in business. I don't like those odds. I prefer to work with, go a bit slower, but do the steps, do the foundations in order, and be sure that what I've built is a long-term sustainable business. Because, a lot of things can be okay on a short run, but I think we are all in it for, we want a sustainable, long-term, profitable business, not just a quick funnel that might make us 6 figures, but then after 3 months, nothing.
Yep, absolutely. Let's say I keep going back to this, and I promise I'll pivot in a second, but let's say somebody's like super green, right? They're a brand new entrepreneur and they want to hire a business coach, but they have no idea what pointed questions to ask to make sure that person isn't just blowing smoke, or they really know what they're talking about. So when you're dating and you're thinking about it, and it's, not a Tinder date, right? How do you, what pointed questions are you asking them to make sure that they know their crap for somebody who's like a complete newbie, complete beginner?
I mean, somebody who's a complete beginner, you will probably make a few mistakes along the journey. I mean, you usually you don't marry the first person that you go on a first date with. Sometimes, you go through a few relationships before, and it's only learning from those past relationships that clarifies to you, like, who do I even want as my partner? So that's one thing. But what you can do is, now here's the leverage of trust. So we all have a certain network of people. Ask around a little bit, ask for recommendations. Even like just go to a few Facebook groups and skip the ones that just mention themselves. Like, see who mentions who, and then check out those people. Like how is the whole group looking at them? How are they valued in the group? Are they a thought leader, somebody that's respected in the group? So and then weight those opinions a bit more than the ones coming from people who've never interacted in that group, and now they're raising their own hand. So just a little bit of common sense. But in the beginning, yes, it's hard. I mean, the easiest one is go where you have trust and ask those people first, and then go from there.
You bring up such a great point, because we're back to that fail again, right? Your first couple dates that you go on, you may not pick the person you're going to marry. And I can tell you, like, the first 3 coaches that I hired were a disaster. But I learned what I was then looking for in a good coach, right? Yeah. So it wasn't necessarily a failure, it was a learning experience, which obviously we want to limit those kind of learning experiences as much as possible. But it's all back to being okay with, I didn't pick the right one the first time, and that's okay. And I learn from it and I move on. And
and I mean, just like, test them out a little bit. Like, for example, I mean, like, for us coaches, we all have free stuff that we offer. We all have some try before you buy stuff. I mean, and just like, for example, if you're thinking about me, go to my free group, see, what kind of value I give there, how I teach, ask me questions, apply those things. And I mean, in all honesty, when I do my sales calls, I know that everybody calls me crazy, but I never want to close a sale on the call, because I know that they are in an emotional state, and I don't want to deal with refunds next day when they, wake up and say, oh, I overspent on whatever. So I always tell them, like, I gave you at least one good idea right now that you can apply right away and see some results. Go do that first, because if you're just, trying to get knowledge, but you're not applying, we're not a good fit anyway. And you won't achieve the results, because at the end of the day, I can't do it for you. So go do this, report back in 2 days, tell me what's happening. And then after you've had, 2 good night's sleeps, and you're probably out of the emotional state, let's see if it still makes a good fit. I know that I drive a lot of clients away with that way, but the thing is, I'm not doing this for the money. I'm doing it because I really love it, but I'm also very obsessed with results. I'm very results orientated, and I know I can't create results for somebody who's not, driven, who's not action taker. So, I mean, even for people to jump on a free value call with me, they have to go through a few questions. It's not a lot of questions, 4 or 5 questions, but they're very open-ended. And if I see that somebody just, entered like just the minimum amount, just, to go through it, that's not somebody I want to work with. I want somebody who's really hungry, because I know what I can do for them. People who went through my coaching, who were very hungry, and then when we added everything together, I have so many stories of people going from clueless to making 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, even over 100K a month in less than 6 months from starting with me. So 0, clueless, to going all the way to 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 in 6 months. But they were very hungry and they did what they had to do. And it wasn't hard. It's not, oh, now you have to work 16 hours a day. That's not the key. It's working smart. But working smart also means you need to trust your coach. If you are hiring them, I mean, why else are you hiring them if you don't trust them? But then when you trust them, do what they say. Like when I'm working with new people, it's different than when I'm working with 8-9 figure entrepreneurs, because they already have this huge background. We can end our call or our session or whatever with multiple things. They know how to prioritize them and so on. But when I'm working with new people, it's always one thing until the next, I don't know, even if it's my online program, it's only always this one thing, and then you go to the next one, then to the next one. It's really the guidance so that you go step by step in the right direction, so that you don't go one here, there, here, there, here, there, and then you're completely lost and you burn yourself out on so many different fronts.
Yeah, and I mean, I gotta give you mad props. I mean, I don't know if I could be a business coach, because, you know, that's got to be so frustrating when somebody comes to you and you pour your heart and soul into them and they just don't take action, you know? So like, why did you choose coaching versus why didn't you just go build another, you know, multi-million-dollar business? You obviously know how to do it. Why not just go do that? Why deal with people?
I don't know. I love it. And I mean, you know, so many fellow coaches who are amazing coaches themselves are asking me, like, what's wrong with you? You know, like, I mean, you have all this knowledge and everything. You can easily help 8-9 figure entrepreneurs with the exit scenarios and scaling and all these things. And you can easily earn 6 figures or multiple 6 figures from one client. Like, why do you go and you teach completely new people how to start their business? They have so many inner demons. They're so insecure. They have so many fears. They're so going left and right. But I just love helping those people. The thing is, I never was an aspirin guy. You know, you have a headache, you come to me, oh, here's an aspirin. No, let's figure out, Michelle, like, what's the root cause of the problem? And when I was working with 7, 8, 9 figure entrepreneurs, it hit me. It's always back to basics. When things are not working, it's not some high, you know, space technology that we need to reinvent. We have to go back to the basics. We have to recheck the foundations. We have to recheck the business development, business model, product market fit, all of those things that you do in the beginning. And I was like, well, why wouldn't I just teach people who are just starting out, and then they won't need me later on? And it's so much easier when you're laying these foundations from the start. When you come into a company that has 100, 200 employees, you know, creating that change. Oh, now we are process-driven company. Now we do KPIs. Now we do this. Now we do that. You know, and people were working there for a while and so on. It's very slow process, unless, you know, the owner just wants to fire everybody from day one and hire completely new people. But nobody wants to do that. So it's a very slow process. It's so much easier when you're doing that from the start, you know. And
that's really interesting. So it's almost like it's, you know, for lack of a better term, your passion, your vision, your legacy, what you're giving on, you know. So that brings me to the next question. You know, you built frameworkforfreedom.com. Why that?
Well, I mean, because I was doing a lot of one-on-ones, and I saw with all the reflections, like, whatever I'm teaching, I'm doing always myself. So with me, you'll never see me doing something else and teaching something else. So I do a whole lot of reflection, and reflection is one of the key elements as business owners or entrepreneurs. And, you know, when you're doing those reflections, you see, oh, I'm repeating this all the time, and this all the time, and this all the time. Well, why wouldn't, and I just started creating videos, you know, like, just when somebody asks me next time, and slowly that video grew up into the whole, and I needed somewhere to put it. So I just bought that teachable thing. And at one point, my marketing guy was like, why we don't just sell this as a program? And I was, well, yeah, of course I can do that. And then we can have a membership group and we can add the 10-20% that's unique to everybody. And then we are doing a lot of brainstorming sessions, live brainstorm. So not just, like a Facebook Live, but I open my Zoom multiple times a week. People jump in and we dive into their problems. And there's another thing. Some people opt in for, and I love that, Miha in your pocket. Because, as an entrepreneur, you're nonstop faced with challenges.
So is that like, is that Voxer?
Voxer, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah. But we call it Miha in your pocket because, your phone is in your pocket. You take it out, you open Voxer, and bam, there's Miha in your pocket.
That is awesome. So tell, I'm sorry, I'm going to back you up just a little bit because, I said framework for freedom, but we didn't tell anybody what it is. Can you tell me what this course is?
It's really laying down all the business development foundations, laying them down step by step. And of course, we go into, like, it's a business in a box. When I was talking with entrepreneurs at those earliest stages, when they're just thinking about creating a business, or when they're making 4 low 5 figures, most of the ones that I talked with, they didn't want, to buy niche stuff. Oh, I need a little bit about this, a little bit about that, because most of the time they don't even know what they don't know. And really, what my audience taught me was they need somebody who has this all-around knowledge to really guide them through the whole process. And that's what the framework for freedom is really, and framework, because we all need a solid framework. I don't want to give people like, here's a blueprint. That would be like giving somebody a fish. And then next time I need to give them another blueprint and another one. When I give them framework, they can go and create 20 businesses based on the same framework. And then freedom, because all entrepreneurs want freedom, but most, unfortunately, end up being selfpreneurs, solopreneurs. And so here we teach the right mindset that when the time comes, you make different decisions than the solopreneur. You start delegating, you start creating a team, because it's all about freedom. And it's not just the freedom of money. It's not just the freedom of time. It's both. Both together give you the freedom of choice. Freedom of choice is an amazing thing. You might be doing same things, but you choose to do them. You don't have to do them. Solopreneurs, they have to do what they do. The real entrepreneurs who have the freedom of choice have always the chance to choose what they want to do. And that's all about what's all about. I mean, in my business, it runs smoothly without me. I choose to do all these things because I don't know. I mean, I can't imagine one day without talking to fellow entrepreneurs and go to the local pub and talk about the weather and politics and coronavirus. I don't do that. I mean, kill me. So, I choose to do what I really love doing. And like you said, yeah, this is like my true passion. And that's what my students or my clients are telling me, they've bought other courses from other, very renowned and known coaches out there. You see them all the time in your Facebook feed with their ads. But, they said, I felt like a number, and they just wanted to upsell me onto something. I mean, with me, it's like very clear. When I say lifetime, you have lifetime access. There won't be version 2 or 3 or 4, and you have to buy it once again. I'm constantly adding new content, lifetime membership in the group. And yeah, they told me, everybody tells me, like, you really, like, I have the feeling you really care. And I really do. I really do. That's why I do this. Otherwise, yeah, I mean, it would be so much easier. I mean, like right now I'm living in Eastern Europe. So here, the wages are very small. People here are used to like $200-300 per month in paycheck. You have immense knowledge here, crazy knowledge, especially in the IT sector and so on. Really amazing stuff. I mean, I can build a few companies like this here and just scale them, and that's it. But it just doesn't fulfill me anymore. And I don't know, I guess I'm not saying I've done everything in business that anybody can. Of course I didn't. I never went to a billion-dollar company. I came all the way to 700 plus million, but I never went above billion. So, there are still challenges but I guess for myself, I did what I wanted. And this is more like, I don't know, giving back. I mean, I'm still young, so what should I just, like die and be on the beach and not do anything? And, I have to be, I mean, even here in Novi Sad, where I am right now, there was no meetups. I just went and created one just, so that I can meet fellow entrepreneurs. So when I go for a beer, I go with fellow entrepreneurs, not with, the local drunks.
And that's, I know exactly what you're saying, because when like I can hang out with, other people for a little while, but then, when they don't have that entrepreneurial spirit in them, it just kind of gets boring after a while, for lack of a better term, because you don't have that inspiration, you don't have that creativity. And I think
I know I have that balance with my first lady. Like she doesn't have Facebook, she doesn't have Instagram. The only thing she knows how to do on computer is open YouTube and listen to music. What she loves the most is gardening and building stuff, and like she's always in the garden, like doing something. Like, we are such opposites. I mean, we go together so well, but she has no clue what I'm doing. She doesn't understand English. And she's so uninterested in anything that I have to say so she's my balance, like with her, I have to disconnect from the whole thing. But then, I need my people as well. So
that's super important though too, right? Because you can't always be plugged in. You're absolutely right. You need that balance. You need to unplug. And I think, my friend, you are this like huge hidden gem. Why in the world does everybody not know about you? And why are you able to still take clients one-on-one? How have you not been like booked up like crazy? Why are you hiding?
I mean, it's not that I am not booked up. I'm very mindful about my time, and I don't take too many clients. So I often say no when I see that we're not a good fit. But I am working to, like, the thing is, the way my mind works. 3 years ago, when I went into the whole online journey, because before I was mostly helping regional entrepreneurs through local startup incubators, accelerators, meetups, and so on. And then I started this whole online journey. So first of all, I'm this guy from Slovenia, and nobody in the US or Canada heard about me or something like that. So, the first step was to start building the brand a little bit. Now, then next thing was, yes, my marketing gurus told me, oh, you should create a program, but I didn't know how, because, for me, everything was one-on-one. And then I thought, well, if I want to create a video explaining something, I need to give like 1,000 examples. And, then my videos would be all 3 hours long. And you see how chatty I am anyway. So it was only through the one-on-one work and through so much repeating of the same where I saw how I can put that into a manageably long online program and add the additional support. I still can't think that I can give the value that I expect from myself. And I've told my team, I want us to be the 3 Michelin star online program when it comes to entrepreneurship. Like we make no exceptions there. And yeah, just last year I was beta testing the whole thing. We had 50 students sign up, and it was a lot of learning for me as well to polish it up. And just for the past few months, we were laying down the foundation. We'll start with marketing in a few days. So we will start onboarding more and more people. And I am moving a little bit more away from the one-on-one and more focused on things where I can leverage. And then next stage is then more PR exposure. So, you have to do things in the right order. I have to do with myself what I'm teaching to others.
So those of us that are listening, we just got lucky because we got in at the front end.
No. I mean, honestly, if I've learned anything through my past failures and all of that, is it's very important. You always have to stay humble, because the more you know, that you know way less than you think you know, and there's always people who are better than you and so on. So stay humble, be grateful for what you have. Of course, strive for more. I'm working on my own business development, personal development every single day, because I want to give my clients, my students, more and more and more as I grow as well. And then, the third thing is fail fast, fail forward. And that's the only way to succeed.
Well, Miha, this has just been absolutely amazing. And before we sign off here, I want to read this to everybody, because I think it's so powerful. And we kind of touched on little pieces of it, but we didn't, like, your marketing guys got it really well here. So, the framework for freedom is 7 simple and proven secrets on how to start your profitable business. That then, nice tagline, but then it goes into the framework for freedom is a proven and tested handheld process that teaches you how to start a profitable and sustainable 6-figure business. The focus is getting you up and running in as little as 45 days. And it doesn't matter if you don't have any tech skills or any previous business experience. Everything you need to know is provided step by step in the training. And you're offering this for right now. The price can change at any time, so everybody listening, but $3,497.
Yes.
That's incredible.
That's lifetime access. Like I said, even people who were the beta testers and the 1 year is already over, because you can pay in 12-month payments as well. And they said, well, what now? Yeah, like like I said, no, like the brainstorming sessions, you're always here. New content always coming. Everything, when I say lifetime, I mean, until I die, that's lifetime. So I take things really seriously. Of course, there are upgrades if you want the more one-on-one attention. Like I said, the Miha in your pocket is really the one that's really most favorite of everybody. But yeah, when I say something, I really mean it. And even, when you just read it and, there's like 45 days. Yes, 45 days is enough to go through the program, to get the basics, to get the knowledge. And if you follow through, you can build your, business development plan, test it, validate it. Of course, if you have 0 leverages, but most of us, we don't come with 0 leverages. Most of us, we have a little bit of network anyway, and so on. So we have something that we can use, and then, your business development can go faster. But I mean, some people who really came with nothing into the whole thing, maybe they I don't know, this one lady, she's from Philippines. She has no network in the US and Canada and so on. She had more struggle. She needed probably 7-ish, 8-ish months because she had to go from scratch. But even she is now making $4,000-5,000 per month, which for Philippines is an amazing amount of money.
That's a lot of money in the Philippines.
Yeah, and now she's steadily even growing that, and I'm still there alongside of her, helping her. So now we'll start moving into how to start growing that into a proper business. But it's very handheld, and that's what when I talked with future potential clients. That's what they told me that they need. That's what they told me that they were missing in other programs. I actually went and bought a few of those programs myself because I wanted to see, how they do what they do. Like, why would I reinvent the wheel when I can just see what they're doing? And I went with what I felt was missing and tried to incorporate all of that together in this program. And the biggest thing I believe is the immense value that people are getting from this. And when we did a survey just a few weeks ago with our marketing team on this past students, quite a few of them said, compared to programs that we bought before for $2,000-3,000 and so on, the value that we got from this is at least 5 or 6 or 7,000 that we would pay now, looking back. And it really made me happy. That doesn't mean that we will increase the price anytime soon. It still is what it is. But it made me really happy that it's kind of one of the very big important brand values of Fail Coach is to over deliver, under promise, over deliver. And so it really warmed my heart that they really got that feeling that they got more what they paid for it.
So let's say somebody's listening to this and they really don't have any assets. They don't have a list. They really don't have like a Facebook group or anything like that where they can tap into people. They buy your program. How much other money besides the program do they need to legitimately get up and get going and start making money, in the first 90 days? How much are you going to need in ad spend and software and all that stuff?
That really very depends on what you're starting. Because this methodology, this is not something I invented. Let's be really honest. So I didn't reinvent the wheel. This is like basic business principles that I'm teaching through my own way of guiding people through it and making sure that they really go step by step. This is like, gravity. You can't defy it, and you can't defy the basic business principles. And so this is also good for somebody who is starting a brick and mortar business. I've been teaching the same stuff to IT startups, to manufacturing companies, to retail chains, and so on. So it can be applied in a very diverse way. And of course, if you're starting a brick and mortar business, your investment will be substantially higher. Now, for most online things, you don't pretty much need anything more. You probably already have a computer. You probably already have an iPhone or something that you can, create some videos or something like that. Then maybe, Zoom, you can get the free version. If you're just doing one-on-one calls, I think it's unlimited how much. Only when you connect with groups, you're limited to 40 minutes or something like that. But, Skype is free and so on. So there's so much of the free resources out there. Now, of course, if you'll buy a domain name, that will cost you, $10-15 a year, and some hosting, a few bucks, and so on. So of course, and then it depends on your leverages. I had a guy, for example, he sucked at writing just the way I suck at writing. This is something we always joke when we jump on a call, because I suck at writing, not just in English, but in general, even in my own mother tongue, I never was good at writing. So for him, because he was targeting the US market, and he is from US, he's from Canada. You can't outsource copywriting to somebody in Eastern Europe. They don't have the right vocabulary. They don't know the living language in the US. So he had to hire a copywriter from the US, and they charge you, I don't know, like $50 per Facebook post or something. And this guy, just like me, he really needed somebody to write anything, even the one-liners and so on for them. So it really depends. If you know how to write, I have another lady from New York. She's amazing at content creation. She creates her own content. She's even very good with editing the videos and, you know, all of that and so on. So, you know, she doesn't need anything outside of that. I think she pays for the Pro Zoom version, the Calendly, so that she can have a few different links, and her website, and that's it. And she's very good with that techie stuff. And now she's starting to come into the momentum where she's outsourcing things outside of her anyway. But you know,
so legitimately, if you had, you know, the willpower and let's say 90 days, so right, if you pay $447 for 3 months, that's, let's say, $1,500, right? So if you had $1,500 and, you know, you're not afraid to dig in and do your own hard work and work with some free tools, you can make it happen as long as you're willing to put the time in.
I mean, the tools are just tools, you know, like they're there to support you. I mean, you know, you don't need a CRM. You can do things in Google Sheets, you know, so it's really more like the content is more, you know, what can be a big problem. Because at one point you need to start producing content to start talking with the audiences, you know. I mean, that's how you come in front of your audiences. So it's more, if content creation is something that you suck at, you know, like, I mean, honestly, like, I'm probably the worst writer in the world. Like, just don't give me anything to write. And I'm very grateful for, you know, people that I have in my team who do that part for me. I create MP3s, and then they, you know, somehow magically transform that into something that's actually readable. Because in those MP3s, I just ramble like this as well. So that's not, you know, it's not. Some people told me, oh, just do the, you know, the auto transcription. No, that doesn't work.
Yeah, like a recorder. Yeah.
Oh, I lost you a little bit.
Oh, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Hey, now I can. Yes, I lost you a little bit. But your video is still frozen.
Thank you for tuning in to the Automate to Dominate podcast at www.awesomeoutsourcing.com/podcast. My name is Michelle Thompson.